Welcome once more to our video tutorial. We're still looking at topic 6. This time we're going to look at error handling, that is module 3. The presenter is still me, Chigomana MD. Let us look at examples and ways of dealing with range checks, with validation techniques. Now, let us start with range checks. Range checks that numbers are within specific range. They also check that strings are within specific range, and they also check that strings are within specific range. Now, when we look at masks, masks can be used in decimal numbers. They can also be used in integers. They can also be used for date and time values. That is, they must be within specific range. When we look at checksums check the validity of credit cards. They also check the validity of ID numbers. They also check the validity of various codes. Let us look at implementation of validation rules. For range checks, you can implement that by using the if statement. For masks, you can implement that by using isNumeric function or masked text box. For checksums, you can implement that by using checksum algorithm. Right, in short, computers can produce wrong answers, but it is not their fault. That is the fault of programmers. Let us look at overflow errors. Overflow errors occurs when the computer tries to process a number and can't because the number is too big. Example of overflow errors: we have integer overflow errors, we have floating point overflow errors, we have index out of range errors. Let us discuss overflow errors. When we talk of integer overflow errors, this happens when the user enters a number that is not allowed by a certain data type. In other words, you can declare integer int let's say, for example, int 32, then you enter a number that is allowed only by int 64. Right, we also have floating overflow errors. This occurs when the exponent of the floating point number is too big. We have the index out of range errors. This occurs when index in an array is bigger than the array dimension specified. That is what we call an index out of range errors. Discussion of underflow errors. Underflow errors are caused by very small numbers. The types and causes of underflow errors are as follows. Integer underflow errors are caused by very small numbers, whereas floating point underflow errors are generated when the computer attempts to use very small numbers, and this one is not so harmful. Let us look at conversion errors. This is a form of logical error caused by wrong variable type. The following are the examples of conversion errors: using wrong variable type, incorrect variable declaration, mixing variable types in an expression. how to avoid mixing variables types in an expression. You can use explicit type conversion. You can avoid using mixed types. You can use a trace table. Now, there are some errors that are due as the results of computer architecture differences. Now, I want you to understand the following. The word word refers to how many bits of data the computer can handle at a time. Computer architecture can be classified in terms of bits, e.g. 4 bits, 16 bits, 32 bits, and 64 bits. In other words, when you buy a computer, you must understand what is the size of the word. You must ask, what is the size of the word? Because some computers are 4 bits, 16 bits, 32 bits, and 64 bits. Nowadays, we only have 32 bits and 64 bits. This implies that even the operating system that you are going to buy must be in relation to the word size of your computer. Now, this implies that if you are using components that are pre-compiled for different modules, there will be incompatibility issue. In other words, if you go and buy a program that is meant for 32 bits, there will be some problems because it won't run. If you go and buy a program that is meant for 64 bits and you use it in a 32 bits, there will be a problem because it is meant for 64 bits, not for 32 bits. That is why it is very, very important that when you buy a program, you must find out what is the size, the computer architecture size of your program. That is the end of our lesson. Thank you for this time.